Our final panel is in partnership with Movember and will explore how being purposeful can help mental health and satisfaction. Introducing Movember's Global Director of Men's Health Promotion Programmes, Sarah Coghlan, and broadcaster Matt Johnson.
Hi, and thanks for joining us on this session around purpose and meaning. I'm Sarah from Movember, and today I've invited Matt Johnson to come and speak with us around this important topic. Hi, Matt.
Hi there. How are you?
Thank you. It's nice to see you again.
It's really nice to see you again. I can't wait to see you in person at some point in the future. Maybe never, but it would be nice.
And Matt and I have done many live events together, but we started, I think, this time last year with some online events and really getting comfortable in this space. And it still feels strange to me not to be able to see the audience faces. So I know you and I both get a lot of energy off the room, and we've had to adapt our styles, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. It's hopefully the future will be more human interaction, but I quite like this. I like the fact that we can open up these conversations and get them to as many people as possible during these trying times. Indeed.
And I think we know that people are here listening with us. So thank you for joining us and having a chat. I guess over the course of the London Minds piece and certainly over the last year, people have engaged a lot more on the topic of mental health and well-being. We know a lot more than we used to when it comes to the value of physical exercise, getting out and having a walk, social connections and the importance of those. And one area that we've done quite a bit of work looking at that's really important when it comes to maintaining good mental health and self-care is doing things with meaning and purpose and having that meaning and purpose in your life. Maybe not all the time, but certainly engaging in activities that give you that sense of purpose. So Matt, I'm just going to open it up to you to talk initially as to how important this has been for you in your journey.
Well, it's very interesting, actually, the word purpose, because it means quite a great deal to me. Around 11 years ago, I had a very bad few years with depression, which took me to a place of a suicide attempt. And ever since then, I've been on this quest and this real surge of energy to try and find out why. And the one thing that keeps coming up is at that time, I definitely had a lack of purpose, and quite interestingly as well, whether it was because of my environment. I was living in Wales at the time, and there's a certain energy of negativity that I found that was in my conditioning. And I genuinely felt like I was either living without purpose and not doing many things with purpose because of a lack of self-esteem and self-respect, lack of belonging as well to certain to anything really. And as well, I felt like I was living somebody else's purpose. Now I've read a book recently, and I'm going to read this quote. It's not verbatim, but it's living somebody else's purpose is suicide via installments. Now that really hit home to me because what I see a lot of with my dealings with mental health charities like yourselves, talking to men on a regular basis, whether it be on men's retreats or in person with my friends and people on Instagram that I have open conversations with, it really feels like men at a certain age start to really question their purpose. They start to really question why and who they are. And a lot of men, and as we can see via the statistics that show that men are suffering a great deal because of mental health issues. Purpose comes up a lot. Why am I doing this? I've got this great car, this great job. I've got the Rolex watch. I have the great wife and these kids. I've done everything my father wanted me to do, and I'm still not happy. And that's because that person in that example was living their father's purpose or their society's purpose, or these days, maybe Instagram's purpose, or they're living their life that they feel they should live. Now, that's quite a general scope of what purpose means to me, because that was something that I really struggled with. And since utilizing purpose as a form of a mental health tool, it's really helped with my truth, my authenticity, and knowing what I want. And I think, like you say, and very interestingly, you see sports people, you see people that are doing quite well in the world, in any sort of profession. It feels like either they're job is their purpose, or they have lots of other things during the day that fulfill that purpose, that give them that fire in their belly. So then they can succeed in certain areas that they want to, whether that's being a good father, whether that's being a good work person, a boss, or whatever it may be. I kind of would love to talk to you about the untangling of this wellness notion of you have to live your life's purpose, because not everybody has the privilege to do that, or the time, or the expertise, or the money, or the environment. But what I really am interested in is finding moments of purpose in a day and being malleable with what that is, and having this fluid idea of what can make us fulfill our purposeful life. So then we can do the things that we need to do or have to do as responsible adults.
I think that's thank you for sharing. Actually, first of all, thank you for sharing, because I know that's an incredibly personal story that you've shared before, but I always feel privileged and incredibly impressed that you're able to tell your story and share that journey. I think you and I said we're going to try not to use the word journey too much, but I've just done it.
That's twice for you now. I think anybody watching this, if you are drinking tequila, take a shot every time we say journey.
I think just to unpack that a little bit, yes, you're right to identify. Not everyone can find their life's purpose in their life's work, and we know that. And I think that what we see is a real opportunity coming out of the pandemic and lockdowns and changes in workplace environments and all the rest, to kind of employ better tactics of self-care. So we know we've observed through statistics and qual research, men in particular, but certainly women as well, and I'm guilty of some of these, under stressful circumstances tend to steer towards maladaptive behaviours, things that we know: drinking too much, eating too much, relying on withdrawing from friends and family. And some of these things can spiral in that stressed environment. So adopting better self-care, I think, has been a big focus for us, and we've been doing quite a lot of work around the world. Traditionally, self-care and the idea of doing these little moments of purpose and meaning has been quite feminized, to be honest. It sort of sits in that kind of yoga and meditation space in people's minds, and maybe is less appealing to men to think about. So we've been exploring, what do men do when it comes to self-care, and they're not exclusively for their use, obviously, but how do we unpack some of those things? And so we've seen in lockdown, men getting involved in learning how to bake. Cooking has become a really big part of people's lives and interest, and there's a real sense of meaning and purpose in the art of preparing a meal or a loaf of bread for people you care about, and there's a connection to that. Going for long walks that aren't about exercise but are about being outside, picking up a book and finding the joy in reading, or re-employing musical interest and picking up a guitar or banging out a tune on a piano. There's so many things we can do in small moments of our lives that don't have big barriers when it comes to adding them to our overall self-care routine, when we think about all of the parts of our lives, the social and the physical and the mental, that need to come together. So I think that's what we have been focused on. I wondered if you yourself used any of those techniques on a regular basis.
Well, yeah, I've realized the hard way how important these things are. I definitely, as far as mental health toolkit goes, one of my favorite things is to check in with how I feel. I learned that on a men's retreat in the Peak District, Men Without Masks. And I couldn't believe the power that it had on me, just being honest and open with how I felt. So if I am truly honest and open with how I feel, if I feel terrible, if I feel great, or in between and all the things, I know what I need to do then to maybe get me to a place where if I don't want to feel those things, to get to a place. Now, if you know how you feel and who you are, you generally make the right decisions, and therefore you make them probably with more of a purpose to them. So that kind of, for me, is a good starting point, knowing how you feel and who you are, and then therefore you know what you want, and then you can make the decisions around it. But it's very interesting what you say there about the simple things, like going for a walk in nature, and not being competitive, or like I'm training for a marathon, because I've done that. I've done 4 marathons. My body should not have done it. I'm not going to be able to walk properly because I had this ego attached to everything that I did, and it wasn't necessarily the motives that I needed to get me there. Now, whenever I've put myself in a situation where I'm doing it because I want to do it, and taken away whether I'm good at doing it, like playing the guitar, like drawing, like writing. This most recent lockdown, I've always wanted to write down these kind of thoughts and even write some music, but I've always been so scared of failure or being terrible, or my ego's therefore telling me not to do it because you're not going to be good at it. Now I've really put my ego to the side, and it's very hard to, may I add. And then I've just enjoyed the moments for what they are. And I think that is very important. Like you say, having these moments scattered throughout your day, being present with your family members or your friends, or even on your own, which is incredibly important. And having these things that you do for you, like you say, these are mental health tools. When you say go for a walk in nature, there's so many different scientific things that happen when you do that. And I'm not an expert to explain what that is, but mental health tools are so personal to you. But I find if you know how you feel, what you want, and what tools you have to get you to a place, that is a life of purpose. And your purpose, if you haven't got a purpose, is to find those moments of purpose. And I think that's really interesting because, like I mentioned earlier, we have this big idea. I blame America for the American dream. We all have these big dreams, and like, you're nobody unless you're chasing the dollar, or you're chasing this huge success. Now I've fallen foul to this. I felt like I had to do everything to the highest quality, and I had to be perfect. And I know perfection doesn't exist, and it nearly killed me, that idea that I had to be the best. If I wasn't, what's the point? And living a life where you can just be present in a moment, wherever that may be, with your purposeful mental health tools, like making your girlfriend or your wife or your partner a cup of coffee in the morning and just sitting there reading the paper when the sun comes through. That is effectively what life is all about for me. Now, Jim Carrey famously said, I wish everybody was famous for 15 minutes, because then they would realize that it's not important, that it doesn't mean anything. And the moments that we take for granted are the things that matter, that they are the things that fill us full of purpose. Now, in a very romantic way, I really hope that people have sat around in lockdown and had the opportunity to really find out who they are and work out what they need to do to have those moments in the day. And I know that's a very romantic idea, because people have suffered because of many reasons. But the way the world is going, I truly believe, because of different working environments, because of maybe more remote working, we're all going to have to tune into what we need to get through this murky old life we have. But I would say, from my experience, those achievements, those goals, it's important to have some, it's important to have them, and it's important to strive, but we lose out so much on these small, seemingly insignificant moments that actually are what life is all about. And there's so many different factors to purpose that I love. And but definitely what I read in the book called Backbone, living somebody else's purpose is suicide via installments. I think that's really, really interesting. Know what you want and who you are, and then you can move forward.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully put, whoever wrote that, because it is that slow death, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a really interesting book for men, actually. And there's so many out there. And I don't think, even like you say about self-care, I've always been interested in, you go into like the self-care or mindful wellness side, it's pretty much female dominated. And, for the very reason that females have been more open to this world. Now, there's certain books starting to pop up for men. Obviously, Movember is an incredible charity that opens up this conversation for men. I genuinely feel like we are normalizing it more for men. And these books like Backbone, these retreats that I've kind of been on, they tap in to what, as humans, not just men, need. And it's very tribal, it's very Native American, it's very much reconnecting with what's simple and basic, because we get lost in this world of what we think we want or what we think we need and who we think we should be, when in reality, all the basic stuff is all there. This is why this is why we clamber to festivals, because we just want to be in a field with people and connect and feel something, because we're stuck behind desks more often than not. And we're so desperate for, why is football and rugby and cricket and all these sports so hugely popular still, and they keep on growing? Is because we just want to belong somewhere and feel a bit tribal and beat our chest. And I don't blame anybody for wanting to do that. I love the fact that we have these outlets, but let's recognize why we are doing these things. It's because we are humans and we have animal instincts that if we can open our minds to self-care, maybe rechannel that into just giving a damn about yourself. I think if we open up a conversation and realize what's important to us, there's a very optimistic future for men and humans everywhere.
I think that's beautifully put. It is that idea of investing in self for others. And I think we often see it, that selflessness of just marching on and doing that thing that other people wanted us to do. But actually not doing anybody any favors in not recognizing you have to fit that purpose, and you have to find it in everyday small acts. Like you say, for me, it's making a coffee in the morning. I'm the first one up. Spending time at the machine, getting the beans right. There's an art in that, and it's as simple as it is. It gives me joy every day. So it's finding those little things every day that give us joy. And earlier you can. I think we know, if you speak to elders, if you speak to people who've been through tough times, like you have, Matt, and had that moment of being on that exploration of self. You want to get to people before they have to go through that, and say, all of us who are under stress at the moment and in difficult circumstances can employ these tools, like you said, and knowing what they are. I really like the way you've got those mental health tools, and this London Minds workshop, the various talks have, really unearthed a lot of what those tools can be, and people can pick and choose and start there exploring what works for them. But I think this one is often overlooked, so I'm really glad that we've had a moment to discuss the value of purpose and meaning. And I think just one last thought. I hope we hold on to it. Like you said, that it has been a difficult time, and as romantic as we'd all like to think, I have no doubt that when we look in the rearview mirror, we will all, in some ways, have memories of this moment, this year, that are warm and do remind us of the things we discovered that are important to us. So hopefully people can hold on to some of that and take it into their busy lives, because I get the feeling we're all about to be somewhat gaslit and back to pace and out there again, and looking forward to it. But there is a slight apprehension in lots of people as to, am I ready to go back out there? Will I still be able to be sociable? Will people still find me funny? Do I have anything of value? So I think the more we can hold on to those things that give us joy as we re-enter the world, the healthier we'll all be. So thank you for joining us in this conversation. I'm open to you closing out with any final words for people joining us.
Oh, it's very interesting. I definitely just think, I know the word woke is thrown around in a negative way, but that drifting through life that I've done, and I know lots of men do, I think it's time for us to wake up and realize truly what we want and who we are. We will find as well that lots of our decisions that we have made whilst maybe drifting subconsciously are what we want to do anyway. But let's live in the conscious moment. Let's be in the present. Let's stand up and give a damn about ourselves. And when you do that, I find you're more compassionate towards other people and what's important to them. And, and realizing that, hey, doing the dishes isn't something I value, but it's of value to somebody else. So I'm going to meet them there. I'm going to listen to them and work out what's good for us all, because we all have different values and different needs and different wants. But when we all truly understand what we all want as individuals, it does breed a bit more compassion. It does open up a world where we're a bit kinder, and we live our life with purpose. And whether that's a huge, I want to be a CEO of a company, or I want to be a good dad, I just want to be good at this one thing. And I think you're absolutely right. Having purpose as a tool, trying to find out what that is a wonderful experience. From my perspective, it's changed my life. From my perspective, recently, it's made me slow down a lot instead of chasing and running and trying to prove to Wales that I'm the king. I'm not. I never will be. It's just, I'm one day at a time, just do things properly. And if you want to do something, try and do it well. But just do it because you want to. And I think that's an incredibly important thing. Be present, be in the moment, know what you want and who you are.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Well, that concludes the London Minds event series. I hope that we provided some useful and practical tips to help your mental health and well-being. Let's just thank then all the speakers that took part in the event series, and of course our partners Movember and Shout 85258. But from me and the team here, stay well, stay sane.